Greetings and salutations. You are listening to the Into the North podcast, where we take a look at the competitive side of the Commander format, also known as CDH. I'm one of your hosts, Lyndon, aka Noobzors, and today I'm joined by my co-hosts Matt, aka Null.
Hey guys.
Reed, aka Sick Robot.
What is up?
And Morgan, aka Spleenface.
How's it going?
And in this episode, we'll be continuing our series, which we've taken a brief pause from, and that is our color series. So in this episode, we're going to be covering the color black in CDH. Let's just jump right into housekeeping. And as usual in housekeeping, we like to shout out our new patrons. So big shout out to Cause0D.
Cause
I
OD?
guess Cause OD 0D. I don't know. Yeah, something like that.
Cause-Yodi.
You know who you are, and we'd like to say thanks a lot. You rock. So yeah, that's quick and dirty. And on to new developments, and we have quite a few new developments here. So here, Morgan, why don't you start?
Sure. Well, we had our quarterly ban list update, and this time there was actually a ban list update. There was one ban and one unban, and I guess we can start by talking about the ban. And that ban was of Golos, which I think was a bit of a controversial one and took a lot of people by surprise. I know that we have some disagreements on whether or not it was a good ban or it made sense. So I'll say I see where they're coming from, because I think Golos had a tendency to, like, if you just slap Golos at the head of any deck of a given power level, at like mid power or below, and then you start activating Golos, that quickly becomes like very unreasonable to deal with. And so I think it was a card that had the potential for a lot of like unintentional feel bads and just, take over games when you play it, have one player monopolize the game. But, obviously it was a very popular commander. In fact, the most popular commander according to EDHREC, which, definitely puts banning it in like kind of an awkward spot.
Lots of new developments.
It's a very terrible precedent.
Well, so, I mean, I would agree if they, like, because their bans are, ostensibly they're also supposed to be like
representative bans,
signposts or representative bans. And apparently they have spoken with the people who design commander cards and have been like, hey guys, could you chill on printing, super busted 5-color commanders that don't cost WUBRG to cast? And apparently the commander people said yes. So I'm hopeful that will work out.
Yeah, I know. I think it was a very bad ban. I'm not going to go too in depth on why, because I don't want to get into big.
We might have a bonus episode or extra.
we
extra tidbit,
extra
at some
special
point,
episode.
But yeah,
it's just I think that if you kind of look at, this is the first time a commander has been banned since Leovold, right?
Yep.
And it's the most popular
It's been a while.
commander.
Well,
of
I
all
mean,
time.
I guess
technically,
pre-ban
Iona.
Lutri.
Well,
Iona
Iona
too, I guess.
also technically, but neither of those were banned for being commanders.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And then banning the most popular commander of all time, and I think the reasoning was dubious, and I think this sets a terrible precedent and signals all the wrong things. That's kind of where I'm at. And then we have an unban,
Which is also a bit of a strange
yeah.
precedent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're probably all a lot more on the same page with this one.
I don't
This
even
is a
know how I
card
feel.
I wanted this off.
Dude,
They
Worldfire is the greatest example of like that you can use in like a Rule Zero discussion.
Yeah, so, Worldfire, I mean, it resets everything in the game and sets everyone to 1. And it's miserable. Like, no cards in hand, no permanents on the field, no cards in graveyard. It's absolutely miserable unless you have some kill combo set up with it. But if you have a kill combo set up with it, it's just worse than other kill combos generally.
Yeah.
So
The thing with
It's
Worldfire is I
just-
don't even think it's that miserable because it ends the game relatively quickly. I
Does
think you
it,
compare it
though?
to something like
What are you
I'm
ending
not
the
sure that
game
it
with?
does.
Yeah, what are you ending the game with?
any creature.
Well,
That
and you have to
how are you
draw-
casting it?
So you have
Draw
to.
lands and stuff, but I mean, how are you ending the game if you're at 40 life and someone played a Yokel Hops?
Well,
Like,
I mean, you still have
and
cards
that's something
in
that's
hand.
been legal for a long time.
Having cards in hand
But you can
is
also
huge.
The other issue is that you can also break parity on Yokel Hops with like Planeswalkers and stuff. You can't break parity on Worldfire.
Can if you're
Yeah.
playing Jaleva.
Joyra?
Or sorry,
Jorah.
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 yeah. But I mean, like that bit, like
That's awesome.
anybody can build their deck to break parity on Yokel Hops. You just can't build a deck to break parity on Worldfire unless you're playing exactly Jorah. Is the issue, right?
Yeah, have I told you guys about my Worldfire Gonti deck?
Can we not? So yeah, anyways, and from a CDH perspective, which is ostensibly what our podcast is about, it's bad. That card costs 9 mana? Question mark.
Yeah, it's 9. Red,
So
6.
there are cards that cost a lot less than 9 mana that more or less just win the game on their own. I know people are talking about using Jeska to kill the table after casting this. 12 mana combos are not real. don't
Not
know how else to
good,
put it.
not real.
Like, if you're playing mono red and you have 12 mana, there's already a commander that just wins the game.
But see,
No
you can
world
do
fire required.
See, you could do it with 10 mana though with Ragavan. Now that's a combo.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Why didn't I
it's
think of that?
in the context of CDH, I'm sure somebody's gonna brew some Jorah deck with this, where like you just like suspend it in a creature in the same turn, or like you suspend it and then suspend a creature like a turn later, and then just like hope to win the game off of beats. But
Yeah.
like,
But
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
realistically, if you can't counter a sorcery after having a
4 turns of
warning
advance
that it's
notice,
coming,
yeah.
it's kind of on you. Slash and
Um,
just kill them before it
yep.
resolves.
Yeah, I think the Worldfire unban, we talked about, I think, setting a bad precedent with the Golos ban. I think, honestly, it's kind of, I just don't think anyone's going to play Worldfire. It joins a
I
pantheon
think-
of a bunch of other cards that are kind of like, quote unquote, toxic that people just don't play. And that there's a bunch of them that exist on the ban list already that, people have been clamoring to just get off because
So the
Like,
weird
who's
thing
gonna
for
play
me
these?
about Worldfire is that it's like so obviously toxic when it is played, even like if nobody is going to play it. Where I feel like there are other cards on the ban list that like just end the game on the spot that aren't as terrible to play against. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
but
did find
there's
it
a bunch of toxic cards that are legal already. So it's like I don't
Well,
think it's
for me, it's just it's
uniquely
weird.
toxic.
Like it's weird that they unban Worldfire but keep like Coalition Victory banned, where like Worldfire
Yeah.
produces like infinitely worse play patterns than
Well,
Coalition.
what I'm saying is,
Victory.
I think the precedent they're setting is that those cards are probably not long going to be staying on the.
I mean, it
ban
was
list.
It's just-
kind of
it's
odd
just
that they
weird that they-
specifically mentioned Coalition Victory and Biorhythm as like cards they weren't unbanning, as opposed to talking about like Sway or Upheaval, which I think are
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
more comparable cards. I don't know that this serves as like a good test case, because I think Worldfire is like just because people don't play Worldfire, assuming they don't, that like doesn't mean that people won't play Upheaval or Sway, because those are much easier
Yeah.
to break parity on, and still miserable. I guess also I don't see huge value in just like taking cards off the ban list from like I feel like they want to keep the ban list as short as is humanly possible, and I guess I don't see a lot of value in that.
Well, I think that's a lot of the CAG members are pro small ban list, and they think that a lot of those cards should come off. I don't think the RC is generally like. I think they've got a smallish ban list because they're pretty conservative and slow about how they do things, but I don't think they're trying to like shrink it down too much, even though I think that's the correct direction to go, and then lots of CAG members are advocating for that.
Although apparently the CAG members were somewhat surprised by, or many of them said they were surprised by both of these decisions.
Yeah, I heard that Josh DeQuai and Jim were both like very against the Golos ban.
But I also, for some reason, I thought I'm pretty sure I saw at least one member of the CAG say I was blindsided by the WorldFire unban.
Yeah,
So,
I think
you know.
it's kind of, who knows, man. RC politics, CAG politics, Twitter, CDH.
I mean, that's why we
it's
play
all, like,
CDH, right? For the
Yeah,
politics.
Exactly.
but the
I mean, thankfully,
yeah, it's weird. It's weird that there'd be so many people so staunchly against the Golos ban and or taken by surprise with this WorldFire unban on the advisory committee. People who are very well respected in the community and massive voices for the people. I don't know. Seems a bit weird.
so
Let's
this
speculate extremely in depth
Yes.
about internal divisions and communication issues, and we
this
totally
all
have
being
all the information,
said,
right?
oh yeah. Honestly, in terms of CDH, I don't think any of the ban list updates for the last few years have actually been net negatives for CDH. The goals ban's a
No.
weird one, but it's not it doesn't particularly affect CDH that much aside from specific
we've
players
had
sort of
nothing
crunch.
but dubs, man.
But it's
Nothing
just
but dubs.
Hull Breacher ban, yeah, great. Flash ban, awesome, perfect. I think the Hulk unban was actually healthy. It required the Flash ban eventually, but
Yeah, so
it happened.
If that had happened
Like-
at the same time, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, certainly, it ended up being a long, protracted issue that sort of required the catalyst of Oracle to get Flash ban. But I mean, I actually, from a CDH perspective, I think I actually agree with most of the things that they've done. Maybe banning Leovold is a rough one, and Pension is a rough one, but I mean, aside from those, I don't know.
Leovold ban is fantastic. I think that's so WC.
Oh, let's have this discussion
We-
again.
Again.
Yeah, go listen to our 17-hour
Ban list
epic
episode.
3-part podcast on the ban list to talk about Leovold.
Remember when we thought we were going to do that in one episode?
In one episode? Yeah. Oh my god, dude.
10 hours
the-
later.
It was that, dude. We actually could have warned the Mind Sculptors about their tier list episode, and we just chose not to.
I think I was more convinced we'd get it done in 2 episodes.
Yeah. I
Than
definitely
one.
thought we had it in 2, but it took the full 3. So
Plus
Anyway.
a 30-minute addendum.
yeah. We do have another new development that we need to get through before doing the rest of this episode. So, the weekend after, or the weekend before we recorded this, me and Morgan participated in the Commander Vault CDH tournament. It's a gameplay server. Go check them out. It's neat. We'll link for them in the description. We were told that people weren't really bringing their serious decks, and quite honestly, I don't think either of us really wanted to play the deck that would have taken it down. Which, spoiler alert, I think at least I would have brought Cody at least to test the waters a bit if this was a serious tournament, but I did not feel like doing so. So we brought some weird ones, and Morgan did particularly well with his weird one.
Yeah, so I was playing Chainer Nightmare Adept, the black-red Chainer, and I got some people with hasty Necrotic Oozes.
Which is
I
what
also
the deck is
almost
wont to do.
managed to play red-black control against someone who went turn 1 land cryptoristic study Jeweled Lotus Najila. We almost got there.
So close.
But sadly, not quite.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool.
I ended up taking a Sararak. I went 0-3 on the first day and just decided not to play second day. Because my lord, there were some rough ones there.
That's too bad, man. That's too bad.
Yeah, I mean, I got close a couple of those
Not
times.
expected.
I did one of those games cast a Damnation against a board-based Casket Tana deck and a Yeva deck, who was in the middle of drawing a bunch of cards. Resolved said Damnation, and then we still lost to Yeva because the rest of the table didn't feel like closing up the game fast enough. And I got my stuff interacted with. So that happened. And then yeah, so in the finals pod, I believe it was what we had Monota going first. So Mr. Bruce on Monota. Again, pretty impressive. He Wizard Bruce actually won the last tournament before this one, the Playing with Power
The Playing with Power
patron
one, yeah.
tournament with Winota. And then made finals in this one, which was pretty great. Good stuff. Then I believe we had a sort of new-ish face, at least in the Hulk community. We had Arc Lord 5 going in second with Minsk Hulk.
Minsk. Yeah.
Got
It's a
some
spicy
Hulk rep. Love that. Love seeing that. And I think, Morgan, you went third. And
No, I went last.
Oh, you went last? Oh, you did go last,
yeah.
right? Yeah. And then we had we had was it Evolution or it was one of the
It was
Draft
Dawn
Bruce
Waker.
lists.
Dawn
Okay,
Waker
Dawn
Threats,
Waker.
yes.
Going third, then Morgan going fourth. And who to guess that Turbo Rule Vlog going first favors the Hulk deck?
I would have guessed that.
Yeah.
What is interesting about that finals, though, is that there were 4 red decks, 3 white decks, 2 green decks, and only a single black and a single blue deck.
Which is sort of crazy. It's I don't know, maybe is Adnaz dying out as a breed? Does Adnaz not exist online anymore? It's just all just all stacks.
Adnaz is a bad card.
It's
Who wants
everybody's
to lose life?
everybody's playing on the second and third level of the meta right now, which is playing stacks, and then the decks that beat the stacks, like Dawn Waker and Minsk, I guess. I don't know. Morgan, where would you position Chainer in the levels of metagaming?
I mean, the way I have it built, it's like half anti-stacks, half anti-mid-range, so I'm somewhere between level 3 and level 4, which is beating the stacks decks that beat the Nas decks and beating the mid-range decks that beat the stacks decks that beat the Nas decks.
Chainer isn't playing with the other kids, man. He's playing off his own little sandbox.
Look, sometimes
because
the
stacks
stacks
decks
deck,
aren't playing any of the grave hate.
yeah, sometimes the stacks deck builds up a big board and then you just slap down an Arc Fiend of Ifnir and then they cry. Or you play a hasty Inferno Titan and just deal with like 2 hate bears and slap them for 6. It's a good time.
True
Dude,
definition.
the problem is the stacks
of a
decks.
rogue deck.
Just Inferno Titan being like a legitimate card in that deck is so funny. It's just 6/6.
Wait, it's
that
funnier
does the
than
mini
Arc
bolt.
Fiend of Ifnir?
No,
Arc
because
Fiend
it's
of Ifnir
like
is so
I don't
hot.
know, man. Arc Fiend of Ifnir makes more sense, but like there is no real synergy with. I mean, the haste synergy is the biggest synergy with Inferno Titan, but like
Which is a
That's
real
real
synergy.
synergy.
That's a very real synergy.
a 6/6 that does that is like it's just a 6/6. I don't know. It's kind of funny.
I mean, that being said, there are, I don't know, I feel like there's a deceptively large portion of the meta that like actually sort of can't win through a
I know, dude, I
Resolved
played
Inferno
against-
Titan. Like
I think we were playing a game not too long ago against
Yeah.
Chainer where there was a Resolved Inferno Titan, and it was like, oh god, it's like
I think-
I've got to Drake this. This is the
where
only way. I can
you were on like Riel, I think, and I was on Cole.
Yeah.
And like Cole actually can't win through a Resolved Inferno Titan, and Riel has a rough one when it can't stick Riel for a certain cycle.
Dude, Riel goes from caring like too much about Inferno Titan to not caring at all if it had just one more point of toughness.
Yep.
So sad. But yeah, cool.
Anyway, good stuff to
so-
Arc Lord 5. Happy to see Minsk representation. I think it's about time that Hulk comes back into force with all the rule of law stuff in the meta, so good stuff.
Yeah, and on to the main topic of the show, which is again the color black in CDH. So our first thing that we're going to talk about is what does black do in CDH, and we have basically one thing written down, and that
Can
is
you guess? I was gonna do the Door of the Explorer for the viewers at home.
Excellent job, everyone. You said tutors. Awesome. Yeah, no, black is known for coming into other color combinations and giving them access to extra
Whatever they need.
consistency through tutors. And then also, some snazzy other little cards that we'll talk about as well.
Yeah, it's a lot of like it's all like tutors, some acceleration, and then a bunch of one-offs, like one-off type effects.
Yeah.
It's kind of both exactly the opposite of green, but also exactly the same as green. I don't know how to describe it.
It plays the support color very well in a similar fashion that green
definitely
does,
the
right?
ultimate wingman color.
Yeah. But
yeah, I feel like
yeah.
green has a bit more legs to stand on its own, where it can do a bit of lots of different things. Whereas
Like green
black
is the ultimate redundancy, but black is the ultimate consistency.
Yeah.
Those can feel the same.
But they definitely aren't the same in
They
practice.
definitely are not.
Especially when you're in fewer colors. And we'll talk about that a bit later. I will say, I think I'll continue this comparison through the color showcase or the color series. I think out of the two support colors, green is definitely smooth and black is definitely spiky. I rest my case.
Okay, dude. Sure.
Anyway,
right on, man. Just give me the phone number of whoever your guy is. Okay.
That plug, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So our main topic is broken down into a bunch of different categories that we're going to discuss for black. So we've got combos, key themes among cards, weaknesses, and pairings. So I think, let's just start off with combos. What combos does black offer in CDH?
On its own, none really. Unfortunately, I feel like that's
Unless
sort of
you
evident.
count ad nauseum as a combo.
Yeah, I feel
You
like
quickly get to like the 3-card combos with black.
yeah, it's like if you look at any mono black deck in the format, it's all just like very commander centric and really jank win cons that only happen after you go thoroughly infinite with the rest of the stuff in the deck.
What do you mean, dude? It's not a consistent combo to have Aetherflux Reservoir, Bolas' Citadel, Sensei's Divining Top, Cost Reducer? Come on, man.
I mean,
not unless you put the cost reducer in the
Citadel
command
Top
zone.
might actually be the best like mono black combo that you can play.
Yeah.
Like you don't need a cost reducer, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
true. You just need
And I mean, usually Citadel Top is good enough to get you into like some sort of outlet for it. So
Yeah.
and
You just have to
often
find the
Citadel
top.
is good
Sure,
enough to
sure.
find you a top. So like, it's like, half the time it's a 1-card combo, and then half the time it's a 2-card or half of the remaining time it's a 2-card combo. Then half of that remaining time there it's a 3-card. But
Yeah, it's just
they're
weird.
it's not great. It's definitely not, especially as a post
has
Nas.
to run Aetherflux Reservoir is. It's not a
That's
deck that
that's
I'm
the thing, right? Is that like I feel
Yeah.
like you actually just have to run Aetherflux Reservoir in your black decks to get a win con, or you're doing some Blood Artist stuff like Yawgmoth does.
Yeah, I think honestly the biggest issue with the Citadel, like the reason Citadel Top isn't like cleanly just the best mono black combo is because it's a lot rougher after Nas.
Yeah, exactly. And like again, Nas is one of the better things to be doing. It's just how do you win after resolving an ad Nas in mono black. The Sidisi answer is Dark Sphere and Sickening Dreams, which is a classic.
And I mean, as sad as it is to say, I think there is an element of Praetor's Grasp plus either Demonic Consultation or Tainted Pact being a combo.
It's so cursed.
You've got good
It's
odds.
so
You've got good
cursed.
odds.
It's very, very cursed, but
Can you imagine
Especially
if yeah,
Grasp
I was
doesn't
gonna
even color fix, so
It
it's
does
definitely
not.
effort too, but
So we're talking about the crappy combos that exist in mono black, but it does actually provide quite a few important pieces when paired with other colors.
it does.
Notably, it is half of the consult / tainted pack package with Thoracle. It's half of reanimation combos. Well, you reanimate Razakath mono black,
It's-
but in order to
yeah,
actually
like-
do anything worthwhile, you need
yeah.
other colors.
It's hilarious that you could execute the entire sequence leading up to the combo in Cats
Into
in mono
reanimate
black.
Razakath,
Yeah,
yeah.
but you can't do anything after that point.
It's like
you
also,
just-
what are you gonna sack? Your Mem Knight?
Yeah, like you need like so much stuff that you just don't have. It's like how many extra bodies do you need, and then like what do you get with those extra bodies to actually do the thing?
Yeah,
actually,
and then-
it is. I wonder what the most concise
Mono
mono
black.
black News combo is. It's probably, or sorry, Razgeth combo. It's probably News. Like you could go Entomb Shallow Grave,
Yeah.
and then something. You have a Hasty News, but
You
that also means
probably
you
want to
can't
be
have used the
making
Entombed
tons of
Dominion
tokens in the
Razageth.
command
I guess you
zone.
could unmarked
Like
grave it.
you'd also need like
Literally using too much brain power on something so
that we're
consequential.
never going to come up. Yeah.
What, dude? Isn't that the motto of this podcast?
Yeah,
Oh
that's
yeah,
true.
always.
I mean, yeah, working on frog loops is actually the most fruitless Sisyphean task, you could
Dude.
imagine.
But if we can hash out all the loops, then maybe one day our deck will be high power again.
Exactly. Yeah, and then the last card that is sort of like a half of a combo is Doomsday, which works pretty great when you have blue in your deck and you can do Thoracle things.
It also like
It works okay when you have some other
like
colors
red
too.
or like green, but again, like you just don't have the colors to do the thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're in red or green with Doomsday, you kind of need to lean on your commander a lot.
Yeah.
You can't really do
I mean, that's
commander
not
agnostic
necessarily true. You just need to be able to crack the pile, which is usually a commander-centric thing. But actually executing the piles isn't actually.
Yeah,
that
you get like
big of a
what's
problem.
the,
You get
is
like
it,
dual caster
it
mage
ra-
stuff. You also
is
get
it
like
Ransack the Lab? That's like the
the mill 3 take 1.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a little mana intensive.
What are these?
Yeah.
What's this pile? I'm not familiar.
you get like dual caster mage and Jessica's Will stuff. Like you Jessica's Will and then like dual caster mage Twin Flame. Is
Or you
one
can
of the
do like
classic
Ransack the
ones.
Lab into World Gorger or
Yeah.
something like that.
Or you can do for like black green. You can do like you can do Witherbloom stuff.
Oh God.
I mean, if you
The only
already
thing worse-
resolved
the
your
only thing
Doomsday-
worse than playing. No, dude, are you kidding me? The best part about Witherbloom is you get to have them just completely die. They go hellbent, and then you kill them.
Sure,
So,
but like
with
Yeah,
Doomsday,
but you've
you're-
already
you're-
resolved the Doomsday. Like you're
Like,
already
Yeah,
dead.
you
Stop
let them
the
resolve
Doomsday-
the Doomsday to let them exile their entire deck, and then you let them play their Witherbloom and let them go hellbent, and they have nothing left.
But
Yeah,
I
but
feel
you
like
need-
in
you
the
kill them.
I feel like in the Doomsdayless Witherbloom case, they're still very dead, and
Yeah.
also in the Witherbloomless Doomsday case, they're still very dead if they get interacted with. I don't see like that's massively worse either way.
Either of those combos kill you very dead when they get interacted with. So like when you combine them, it can't get any worse.
Certainly, but I mean, at least one of them leaves you with a deck.
Yeah, but we're talking about Doomsday, in which case you don't have the deck anyway. So why not just
Also-
go all in?
Also, conceivably, you could just pile like a reshuffler and try again,
just
if you-
pile
Oh, yeah,
Praetor Grasp
baby.
at the bottom and
or
Just take
or
someone's
like
Oracle.
like not the new better Crozen Reclamation. I can't remember what it's called.
Oh yeah, whatever it is.
yeah.
Anyways, don't play Golgari Doomsday. That's not an endorsement.
There's
Yeah.
there's like one you can play it in Gitrog, and then it's not even good there. So, but that's the best Golgari Doomsday as far as I'm aware. Cool. So key themes among cards. We said black does basically one thing, and that's tutor. So that's our first category for the key themes. Yeah, we've got lots of staples here. We've got Demonic Tutor, Imperial Seal, Vampiric Tutor. We've got more secondary staples like Diabolic Intent. And then we've got more third string. I mean, I guess Praetor's Grasp could be second string.
I
but
mean,
feel like
Wish
that-
Claw is
I
also
think
second
Wish Claw
string
is
at this
also
point.
second.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
Wish
And
Claw
then you've
Wish Claw is
got,
almost like Diabolic Intent, but for rock decks at this point. It's
Yeah.
weird, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
I do think I
hate
I
that
don't
take,
completely agree.
But
Yeah, 'cause
Yeah, like it's the
the
take that you
Diabolic
don't want
Intent
to
to
hear.
find like
but...
an abrupt decay or something or like or you could find like a Rhystic Study or Fish if you really want to. Like that option exists, and that doesn't really exist when you're doing Wishclaw.
Yeah, but I mean, there's also stuff that exists with Wish Claw that doesn't exist with Diabolic Intent, right? Like you can like Wish Claw and then find Chain of Vapor back a bunch of your rocks, and then Chain of Vapor back to Wishclaw, and then reuse the Wishclaw to
Dude,
find other
everyone
stuff.
knows you just Wishclaw for opposition agent. 17 head.
And then also here I've got the I think tremendously underrated card is Grim Tutor. I think I've been running it in my Gitrog list for a long time.
It's just like
Very
you
happy
just
with it.
in a lot of low color black decks, you just want to be able to Praetor's Grasp people's Thoracles anyway, and there's usually only one slot for
I feel
a
like it's
CMC
good.
tutor.
I feel like it's good specifically in Gitrog because no
You
one's
have things
playing.
that you-
No
discard
one's
unless
playing
you
the
back or
cards.
salvage.
No one's
Yeah.
playing the cards you want. Yeah, exactly.
You don't interface with the rest of the format particularly well.
I think
like,
some
combo
people
pieces
play
shared.
Praetor's Grasp when and rate higher when they could be running Grim Tutors. I think it really does depend on what you're looking to find with the Praetor's Grasp. Like if you're only ever being like, oh, I'm only ever going to find Adnos, right? If your deck has a bunch more things that are more or less unique to your deck that you might want to be able to find, then Grim Tutor can be really useful. Just as a better toolbox card than Praetor's Grasp. But of course, Praetor's Grasp is doing something a bit special in terms of providing WinCon redundancy. So that's that. I guess
You can lump in the Forbidden
we have a
Tutors as
couple.
well.
Technically, these are sort of tutors.
They are tutors. I'd put them into the same category.
Okay, so our next theme was Forbidden Tutors, which is the classic Tainted Pact, Demonic Consultation, and then Plunge into Darkness. Is
What
sort of
spoils
sometimes
the
thrown in
vault,
there.
dude? Come on.
Classic
Spoils.
Dude, I played a spoils deck in Conquest with Zur at the helm. So it was like CDH Zur, but instead of getting Necropotence, you'd go swing and get
Unlife or something?
Unlife a lot of the time, and then
Yeah.
you just consult and do whatever to win the game through that. Fun deck.
Nice.
Anyway. Yeah, the
Yeah,
weird
so I mean that kind of wraps up. Those are the tutors.
the
You
weird
guys
thing about the
want to
forbidden
speak to those?
Yeah, the weird thing about the Forbidden Tutors is that they're just like not good mono black. they're just they're just combo pieces in mono black with Praetor's Grasp, which is
Well, I mean,
They're not the
very
worst.
sad.
Tainted Pact's
supporting-
alright.
I mean, it's pretty
supporting
rough
Tainted
in
Pact on the mana
monocolor.
base is pretty
Yeah.
terrible.
One color
Yeah.
Tainted Pact mana bases, especially because a lot of the black decks really want to support Lake of the Dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, certainly. Although I was just gonna make a joke about ain't nobody playing back to basics in Blood Moon, but people are starting to play those again, so or at least
We
a
can,
bit.
oh god, we can get into that in another episode. I so don't agree with the uptick in Blood Moon play. It's so bad right now. Anyway,
I mean, I think it's better than it was when Flash was legal, but
that's not exactly setting a high
Definitely suffers from
bar.
the same problem.
Yeah.
Listen, man, all I'm saying is that you can wizard cycle for your Magus of the Moon, okay, and that's
I mean, it doesn't
that seems
even-
pretty good to me.
It's in some sense though, it suffers from a worse problem, which is that like the problem with Flash Legal was that somebody just has to make a blue mana and they cast Flash and nobody else can interact with them. Now it's just everybody has artifact mana they can cast with their red mana to fix, and then they just also have Dockside. So just so many of the decks in the format can just play through Blood Moon with no problem.
well, like the thing is that Dockside doesn't have to make 12 treasures, right?
But if you're playing Blood Moon, it definitely does.
I mean, I think that there are lots of decks that people just put Blood Moon into as like a weird pivot that it doesn't fit in, but I think that there are, like, you could Blood Moon decks with Collector Roof in them is like
Yeah,
something I can get behind.
it's just hard to make those cards fit in decks right now because Gruul is pretty underpowered in the grand scheme of things.
And then in order to
Anyway.
make those colors get powered up, you end up going to like 4 colors.
You could
I'm like,
play them
wait a
both in
second,
Minsk.
Why am I playing? Why am I playing Blood Moon?
Yeah, but in Minsk, you're not doing Blood Moon shenanigans. You're just deading the table on turn 3 with a Pattern of Rebirth. Anyway,
Yeah. So we said black does basically one thing, and that's tutor. So what's even left for the key themes among cards?
A history of Wizards printing broken cards in either sets from 20 years ago or individual ones they didn't think would be broken in recent history. Am I wrong? Did I get all the
That's
things that
pretty-
we're about to
that's
talk
pretty-
about?
Pretty accurate. Yep.
Sure, then segue, bring us into it. Reese.
Sure,
Let's go.
great. So I mean, one of those things that they moved out of Black a long time ago, but we got enough of to be dumb still, are the rituals in Black. There's a lot of fast mana left over in Black from ye old days. Dark Ritual, Cabal Ritual, Calling the Weak, bunch of other stuff. More niche rituals, all that good stuff. Yeah, I mean, Black's one of the
Sacrifice.
it's one of the
Sacrifice,
burnt offering. What's it
Actually,
called?
cards that I can say are relevant. now.
Rain of Filth. That kind of
bubbling
stuff.
muck, dude, huge.
Bubbling muck, yeah.
Absolutely huge. Yeah, I mean, like black.
But I'm already
Black is one of the two colors that you go into for fast mana in the format. Obviously, I think unfortunately red's a bit more of that at this point because the red has the best like acceleration to tutor for in exactly Dockside, or I guess Jessica's will sometimes. Black is the color that you play just to have like a density of good acceleration. Yeah, I don't know. Anything else on rituals?
no, that's pretty
Um,
good.
I mean,
You
I
know,
think
for a while they were like, it seemed that they were moving away from black as the ritual color, but I mean it's kind of being snuck in and through cards like Calling Ritual too.
Yeah, I think also like one thing that's worth noting is that not only are the black rituals just like better on rate than like the newer generally red rituals, but also they make black mana, not red mana, which is
Yeah.
kind of big a lot of the time. And I mean, historically, we've also seen things like chaining them with Yawgmoth Will. Obviously, that's fallen a little bit out of favor, primarily with the advent of Underworld Breach just kind of being a better Yawg Will, which is such a... I can't believe I'm saying that sentence, but like, yeah, that certainly historically has been a decently big thing as well.
Yeah, so I think that's it for rituals. Although I will say, like I was saying with Calling Ritual, it is interesting that it seems like they might be going back to black for rituals.
I think
honestly,
they're like putting some in the space, but I think red is still the primary ritual color in like modern design.
I just thought they were completely done. Yeah. Yeah, who knows? Maybe we'll see some more black ritual stuff in the future.
I'm not necessarily saying I love like Culling Ritual as a card, but I definitely like that idea of like using your ritual as like a payoff for the card doing something else.
Yeah.
It's pretty in line with the theme for Golgari based rituals like squandered resources and that stupid RL one that lets you exile cards from your hand to make mana.
Carnivorous.
Dude.
No.
Cadaverous
What?
Bloom.
Yes,
Cadaverous Bloom.
Cadaverous
Yeah.
Bloom.
Cadaverous Bloom, yeah.
Cap Bloom.
Yeah,
God.
so like they're trading cards from your hand,
that
sacking
card
lands,
is so
permanents for mana.
busted.
It's
I
it's reserve list?
Yeah.
I want to go black. I want to go back
Nice.
and play a Cadaverous Bloom deck and CDH again. I had one at one point with Trading Grounds Thrasios Cad Bloom. You just
That's
loot through
pretty
your
cool.
entire deck, yeah.
That's pretty hot.
And then you hit lands and you're like, wait, no.
You can exile
Wait.
lands to them, can't you?
What?
Yeah.
But you can't draw them with Thrasios?
Oh yeah, but you know, it works.
It's like
some
sometimes.
details, man. These semantics
Details.
Details.
Small
details.
details.
So
yeah.
he's a big picture thinker, okay? So that's it for rituals. And this is our next category is reanimation, which I think is outside of tutoring. I mean, honestly, tutoring isn't that interesting. Reanimation is the coolest aspect of black, I think.
It's really the most
yeah,
unique
agreed.
aspect of black.
Yeah, very, very, very thematic, very interesting, and I like that there is a home for it in CDH. I mean, it's weird to say that, I'm like, Razaketh exists, blah, blah, blah. Lots of things do use reanimation, World Gorger. But I like that it's something that, it's such a cool aspect of 60 card or cube. Just a very classic, iconic archetype. And it's cool that something like that gets to find its way into CDH. I don't know. Just,
in the weird, twisted way
just
that it
fun.
does.
Yeah. It's not really.
It definitely isn't
Yeah.
like full reanimation. I find that, like, especially with large creatures in general, like, you kind of want them to win the game when they resolve.
I
And
feel
that's
like
not necessarily like the classic reanimation.
I mean, it like weirdly. I feel like it's not the true classic reanimation. It's kind of now the classic reanimation, or at least it has been since
Griselbrand was printed.
12. That's when Griselbrand
Yeah.
was printed, right?
Yeah.
And now like legacy reanimator decks is just like, all right, I'm gonna play a Griselbrand and reanimate it, and then I'm gonna like unmask
bunch
you or
more,
/ grief you like 3 times, and then
Yeah, fair.
And then
Yeah,
reanimate another
I was
thing.
thinking about Cube, where it's like, I don't know.
Cube is
Make it
pure.
big.
Is Cube and mid EDH are like the purest form.
But like even a lot of cube reanimator decks try and just like reanimate Griselbrand and dead their opponent really quick. Like yes, you put in other targets, and like try and kill with like sometimes you reanimate like Iona or whatever it is, but like Griselbrand is still often the primary reanimate target that a reanimator deck is trying to get, and then
Well,
they do some stormy stuff.
This might be the answer that nobody wants to hear, but Wizards may have created the actual real reanimator deck in Modern recently through Modern Horizons 2.
No, with the Archon.
Yeah, with Archon and
The deck is
Persist on
sick.
Markgrave. Yeah, I mean it might be the fairest reanimator deck in any format right
How
now.
much is that Archon going for now? I know it was like $1 for a while. It's crazy. The card's like a mythic. And it's like a bomb ass mythic too. I can't believe it's so
Archon
cheap.
of Cruelty. How much is it right now? Let's check.
It
is
$10-ish dollars.
Yeah, $10.
Yeah. Yeah, hell yeah. Getting the respect it deserves. Card's sick. Anyway. There's another really super flavorful and cool sub theme in Black, which is stealing your opponent's shit.
Just taking it
Just
all.
absolutely
Yeah.
taking it, man. Yeah, so you've got
Not from
Gonti,
play,
Op
but-
Agent, Raider's Grasp.
Yeah, not from play, but definitely from deck, mostly.
Why is Gonti on this list, by the way? Like,
Why did you
definitely
read
take
Gonti
your opponent's
first?
stuff?
I definitely put Gonti on this list as a meme and put it under the subheading so that you'd read the other ones first, and then you're just like, no, you just take stuff like Gonti, the classic.
Classic CDH All-Star Gonti, man.
What do you mean? Food Chain Gonti is a great deck, right? Right?
Yeah, man.
What is the best
Absolutely.
meme food chain deck for the degenerate food chain mirror?
I mean, I feel like Gonti's the most flavorful in that it actually like can theoretically snipe a food chain as well as serve as an outlet.
Right.
But obviously, like, one's in more color. Like, Jaleva's probably just better because you get to play Jaleva, not Gonti, and also you get, like, Squee and Mist Hologriffin if you want them.
Yeah, and you get like
Uh,
you could do like weird stuff with like Steel Enchantment and like counter their Caster from Exile and then Steel Enchantment the food chain and go off.
yes. But,
Oh yes.
or play Commandeer.
Oh yeah, dude. Oh man, if Flash was still league, you can flash in an Aura Thief and take a food chain.
Oh my god. Also, you get to play Brain Freeze, so if you can't steal
Yeah,
their,
that is very true.
you can't steal their food chain in time, you just Brain Freeze them.
Yep. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, and
he's
then-
just, it's
yeah.
this is one of the, that's one of the categories that just gets like the weird one-off ones every once in a while. It's not really a persistent identity in Black, but it's maybe it is persistent. It's just like maybe it's persistent but not consistent.
I think usually there's a lot of blue. There's quite a few blue-black things that do.
Yeah, I mean it's primarily in
do
the
that, right?
blue-black color combination, but Black also just like every once in a while it gets one of those things, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I think it's a theme among CDH black cards, but I wouldn't necessarily say that it's a black theme in general.
Mm. But I mean, it is just it's a powerful effect. People,
It's a powerful effect and
They're-
randomly like just very useful. You're like, man, I don't want to put crappy cards in my deck.
But if other people put crappy cards in their deck.
Praetor's Grasp, I can run 2 Thassa's Oracles, and then one of them's, a tutor for like Adnaz, and like that's pretty sick.
It is. They definitely, those effects definitely get a lot better in CDH, where the like 99 of decks are a lot more homogenized than in 60 card formats, where it's likely that you'll be able to find a thing that you're looking for in any given game. Also, with just like more targets at the table, there's just a higher percent of the time that somebody's playing a relevant deck for you to steal from.
Yeah, and then like Op Agent also just like puts the fear of God into people.
Oh,
if you're playing like a deck with not a high amount of redundancy, or like one specific card, like if you're playing Gitrog or something, and like you're casting Demonic Tutor, you're like, well, they have the Op Agent, they could just take me out of the game if they really wanted to. It's
sorry, man. I really need that land drop. Really, really need to play this tapped, like
absolutely
Bazooka Bog that doesn't exile a graveyard.
Yeah. So there's that. We've got 2 more categories left. We've got creature removal / mass removal, and it's interesting because this category is definitely one that actually doesn't get utilized too much, I would say.
Yeah, a potent category that does not get utilized.
Yeah, I mean, definitely some of it gets utilized, but it's not necessarily a staple in a lot of decks. That might be, though, just because this gets overwritten by the multicolor versions of these effects a lot of the time.
Yeah, any single target removal in black. First of all, it kind of sucks. you're only wanting to run like 1-drop removal because at 2 mana you're like looking at Doom Blades. It's like that's not happening. And then you're looking at like Dismember, Ulcerate, Fatal Push, and you're like, what am I doing, man? What's going on?
So
you're running Deadly Rollick or something.
Yeah, it does have like the good free removal for creature removal. Like you have like Snuff Out, which isn't terrible.
Ew.
You have
that's pretty bad.
You have Rollick,
Slaughter
which is like
Pact.
by far the best free one. I mean, Slaughter Pact has historically seen play in some stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, that being said, Slaughter Pact certainly doesn't, and Snuff Out to another degree, definitely doesn't stop the issue which a lot of black decks have, which is an opposing Op Agent. But but yeah, I mean, the mass removal is probably something that you see more of in black. Certainly, Deluge is still a card that sees play, and I don't think it'll ever stop seeing play until we see like a 2-mana Wrath.
Historically low play, right? I
Currently,
think people need to start bringing it back.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe not
it's just like
in this current moment, but I think in this past year or so, I've seen just historically low amounts of Toxic Deluge.
Yeah, it's it's a good card, but
as stacks and creature-based decks are coming back into favor. It's kind of wild.
That being said,
that's
sort of another one that gets crept a bunch by the multicolor thing, because Fire Covenant is definitely a hot one and solves a lot of the issues that a lot of decks have with Toxic Deluge. Namely, it kills your own like X commander.
Yeah,
kills your own.
I think the one thing with Fire Covenant though is if people are worried about stacked decks, or someone being the beatdown, Fire Covenant, or you're trying to like also play Nas or take advantage of your life. And Fire Covenant can be extremely costly.
Yeah,
like if you're trying to take down a board of Winota.
Yeah, you've been slapped for like 15, and then you're like, I can pay 15 life to wipe the board.
Yeah. It's a bit rough. I think Toxic Dealer should see a bit of resurgence, but as Reed was saying, a lot of times the single target removal gets put to the wayside in favor of things like Abrupt Decay and Assassin's Trophy when going to more colors.
Or unfortunately enough, Swords to Plowshares and then color combinations that have white. Yeah, that's rough.
So on to our final category, and I think our listeners have probably guessed what sort of stuff we got going on here. This category is mass cards, card advantage, whatever, and this is This is almost what defines. I mean, we I guess Consult, like along with Consult, you've got Ad Nauseam as perhaps the 2 most defining cards in CDH. So while black, can have a lot of individual weaknesses, being in terms of being a monocolor It's definitely more of a supporting role player. It's crazy just how much of the metagame is commanded by black cards and built around black cards. Ad nauseum really do be something else, though.
Yeah, it's card. It's a common thread of every CEH discussion.
Please
is it a card, or is it actually 20 cards in a trench coat?
Dude, 30 if you're playing Cody. Yeah, I mean, it, like, black, it's weird. We'll talk about this more in weaknesses, but black can find the thing that draws in a lot of cards really well, and it can cast the thing that draws in a lot of cards really well, and then it doesn't really do anything with the cards that it drew.
It just
the black
can't
cards you
draw
get from
good
that
cards.
do what you want.
It's so hilarious because you could, like, all of Black's good cards are the getting to the big thing, but none of its good cards are doing the thing after the big thing.
If you wanted to describe it positively, you say it's a wingman. If you wanted to describe it negatively, you could say it's just an enabler.
Yeah. How would I put it? It's like a yeah, it just can't finish. Just gets like right up to the line and can't get there without some extra help.
Yeah. We've also got Necropotence and Peer into the Abyss in this category.
Also good cards.
Necropotence definitely taken somewhat of a backseat. It used to be a lot more popular than it is now. I think it's got a bit of a resurgence around it, though. I know a lot of it used to be just every single black deck slotted in Necropotence. Definitely not the case anymore. Peer into the Abyss. Ever since it was printed, people are like, "Oh my god, it's the second coming of Adnaz," and it just so totally isn't.
It's just
how many times have you guys misdirected or swatted a Peer into the Abyss? You know, every time feels so good.
I haven't done it personally, but I've seen a lot of it, and also I feel like there's a lot of hype around this initially, and then people were just like, "Wait, why are we doing this and not just tutoring for Adnaz? Like, what are we doing?"
It's funny
here?
how, putting half your deck into your hand is so much more powerful than Adnaz, but then you're looking at a card, you're like, well, this is more mana, can't be done at instant speed, draws cards, which is a downside, and then also targets, which is just downside.
I mean, I also think it's like, it's not that much more powerful than Adnaz in like a real sense, because there's very much diminishing returns.
Yeah.
Like drawing, the difference between drawing 20 cards and drawing 40 cards is like actually pretty small, all things considered. Or maybe not 20, or like 30 and 50, or like whatever the numbers.
Yeah, I was gonna say 20 to 40 is actually probably.
I think drawing 20 cards wins you the game. Like if your deck is built to win the game off that, I think drawing 20 cards wins you the game most of the time, or almost all of the time. Obviously, the fact that Ad Nauseam, like, it scales down faster as you take damage is like, I think, more of a real downside. But, like, Ad Naus decks nosing from 40-ish life win. Like,
yeah.
So
Certainly
drawing 10 or
15
extra drawing 10 or 15 extra cards is not actually particularly relevant in a lot of those cases.
So that wraps up the discussion on the themes
I think
of black cards.
The other card that we were missing for mass cards is also just like Citadel and other stuff of that kind. Like we named the big three, but there's also just like a bunch of ancillary.
Villas, technically.
Yeah, Villas. Dude, good old Null Profusion. Oh yeah. It's a great one. Everybody's gone silent, but they know what's up.
Man, it's a good thing we didn't just
we've
move on
seen
to
your
the next
Acererak
category.
deck. Yeah.
Because otherwise we wouldn't have had a chance to talk about Null Profusion.
Yeah, we wouldn't have. And Null Profusion is a hot card. I don't know what to say.
Lyndon, could you transition us, please?
Yeah. So up next, we're going to be talking about the weaknesses of black. And black as a color in CDH definitely is not short on weaknesses. Matt, why don't you kick things off?
Yeah, anything that isn't a creature and sticks around. Non-creature permanents. Black has an enchantment removal spell.
And enchantment removal spell.
And it's a sorcery for 2 minutes.
Yes. And you take damage for doing it. So just all around not great. Matt, do you know how many cards remove artifacts in Mono Black?
As far as I care, 0.
Reasonable
Gate
answer.
to Phyrexia or
It is
whatever.
it is 2. Yeah. There's Gate to Phyrexia, and then there's I forget what it's called now, but it's a sorcery, 3-mana sorcery, sack 2 creatures, destroy target artifact.
Nice.
Jesus.
Hey, what about the colorless ones? Huh? Scour from Existence and Introduction to Annihilation. Let's go.
Dude, Intro to Annihilation,
just
Pauper
Spine of Ishsaw.
Pauper
Yeah,
staple.
Spine of Ishsaw, Ugin. Dude, Ugin's great.
Ugin.
Oh, wait, Ugin's not artifact removal.
It
so
actually
yeah,
just
this
is terrible artifact removal.
Dude, Universal
Covered
Solvent and that 3-drop rock that also has that text on it.
I mean, Ugin is great Citadel
Unstable.
removal.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so non-creature
Unstable.
permanents. What else we got?
Yeah, next I guess we have the stack. It doesn't really do anything at instant speed by itself.
Yeah.
It's a weakness shared by almost every color except for blue.
I mean, yeah, but
Yeah,
the other colors have like effective ways of working past that in a lot of senses. Certainly like green and red have the closest analogs to counterspells in their colors with like
How
Veil
dare you.
and
How dare you? Witherboom.
Veil,
and,
like
and,
Red's
Imp's Mischief.
swats. Yeah.
I mean, I also think that the important cards in black tend to be of more counterable types. Like certainly compared to green, right?
Oh yeah.
Like the good green cards are often creatures, which are just a lot harder to counter. And even red, like when we, in our red episode, by far, the best cards in red are Dockside, which is again a creature, and like Underworld Breach. Enchantments are more counterable than creatures, but there's still like a decent amount of interaction that sees play that just doesn't hit enchantments.
Yeah, black is generally better at playing to the board, but when it's playing to things in play, it is still restricted generally by just being creatures.
What it can do. Yeah, and I mean the thing with Black's weakness here in CDH with the stack, or just like interaction with non-creature types, I guess in general, is that it's usually shored up in 1v1 formats with discard like Thoughtseize, Inquisition of Kozilek, Duress, that kind of stuff. But the fact that it's a 4-player format makes them a lot worse in this format, to the degree that they're like almost unplayable, and anything aside from mono black are things that like sometimes actively want to point the discard spells at themselves. So you just like end up with sort of like the way that black does interact historically is sort of gutted in the format, and it doesn't really have anything to replace that with.
Yeah, it's definitely like something that you might not consider when you compare like Black's tools from other formats. And also the lack of sideboard means that like the narrow pieces that you do have access to, it's still like a commitment to run them.
Yeah.
Much more than it is in other formats.
I mean, thankfully, Feed the Swarm does also remove creatures when needed, but it's definitely a commitment.
So it's not totally unplayable.
It's
just
entirely
really bad.
unplayable. It's just not good.
I have to say, you're not doing a great sales job.
You know what? I honestly wasn't trying to. Mono Black's pretty horrendous.
So a couple more weaknesses we have here are non-mass draw, which
It's
like, yeah, I get it, but at the same time, this is a weakness of basically every color.
Yeah, what's the line with like non-mass draw? Because
I mean, so
like if we're talking about preordain, like not a lot of people are really
It's
playing.
not even draw,
preordains
it's
and
just
ponders.
selection.
Yeah, like
I guess
that
card
Black does not
selection
have
would
many
be the
grind. It also doesn't have many
you've
like
got
yeah,
Bob.
it has confidant. Yeah, That's
it's like the Phyrexian arenas, which are like fine in this format, but aren't really super comparable to what other things are doing.
I mean, I think fine is like probably overselling like most of those.
Oh
effects.
yeah, anything that's not Bob. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, like Bob is fine. Mindblade Render is like maybe okay. The 3 mana ones, like 3 mana is a lot, especially for like how slow they tend to be.
Yeah.
And when you're in mono black, like it's not like you can play like just easily play a turn 2 off a dork. So yeah, like certainly I don't think like mono black decks definitely don't tend to be grindy.
Well, yeah, I mean it's also that's just because their proactive tools are just like orders of magnitude stronger than their grind tools. So like it doesn't necessarily mean that like Bob is a bad card in a vacuum. I mean it's not great right now, and I think it's probably going to continue to get worse over time as like more efficient stuff gets printed, but certainly it's not terrible, but it's definitely just that like again, the proactive elements of black are just so much stronger than the grind stuff. You have like really good rituals, really good tutors, pretty good payoffs.
Yeah. I've been pretty low on Bob recently.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure a bunch of people are cutting it, especially I think what actually put the nail in the coffin that I'm not sure everybody really saw coming was actually just Esper Sentinel.
Yeah, I mean it's much
yeah,
better.
Sure.
Well,
better
the thing is,
Bob.
I'm not even sure that it is better than Bob, but you can Ranger Captain for it, which apparently is very relevant.
It's so much better than Bob. You fucking kidding me?
Uh,
Bob versus Esper Sentinel. There's almost no time. Like there are very specific cases where I'd want Bob over Esper Sentinel, but you know, if I can have one of the two in my opening hand, I'd almost always rather have Esper Sentinel.
sure, it's just like opening hand, yeah, 100%. But I feel like
hand,
Okay,
definitely.
even in the mid or late game, I'd still rather draw Esper Sentinel than draw Bob.
I'm not sure about that, but anyway,
like maybe Confidant's nice if you're playing last.
it's Bob's nice to get the guaranteed card every turn cycle in the mid game, but yeah.
I even think that's the reason why I'm low on it is I think it's just very overrated. I think the amount of cards you get from Bob is just it needs to be a lot for that card to be worth it at 2 mana, and how slow it drip feeds the cards, and having no other impact. You know, at least Esper Sentinel, even if you aren't drawing cards, you're impacting the game by taxing your opponents. But yeah, so we have that non-mass card draw. And then who wrote consistency? Because we said that the defining feature of black is tutors, which are and black has the generic tutors, so just infinite redundancy in terms of generic cards in your deck. Why is that?
I feel like
an issue for consistency in black?
I feel like it's not so much consistency as it really is resiliency is what it should actually be. Like based on what we've been talking about.
Who put it down?
I
Isn't
don't
the
know.
word? I feel like rather than resiliency, we're talking about redundancy.
I mean, I think redundancy is a part of resiliency.
Sure.
I kind of see it the other way. So
no one's gonna own up to putting down a consistency. Okay.
I wonder if it got
No.
like slotted under the wrong heading by mistake, because like clearly tutors are almost definitionally consistency.
Cool. See, listeners, we're not the perfect podcasters you all thought we were. Okay. I know
that
we've got this reputation of being flawless, super well put together and organized.
Do we
but,
have
you
that
know,
reputation?
Yes, Morgan. Of course we do.
Oh,
so
cool, nice.
It's either that or this entire segment gets cut and we are just actually the most perfect podcast on the planet.
Yeah, we'll see how I feel when I'm editing this.
Yeah.
Our final category in weaknesses is winning the game. And we kind of touched on that earlier, where black just has a complete lack of good win conditions.
We've really tried our best to have more than one bullet point under combos.
Yeah. Cool. So that brings us to our last category, which is color pairings. So how does black being paired with different colors of the color pie shore up its weaknesses, improve its strengths? How do they synergize together? What do they each provide? So first up on our list is black white. Morgan, I'm going to throw this to you because you're the only one out of us I know who's played Orzhov.
Oh boy,
You
we're
played
going real
Orzhov
far
in
back.
CDH? Oh
Oh,
no,
you just played
not
an Orzhov
CDH.
So I think that black white is pretty comfortably the worst of these color combinations, because both black and white tend to be like very support colors.
And they're also polar opposite in how they do that supporting.
Yeah, and they're polar opposite in how they do that support. I think we mentioned this in the it was either in our color tier list when we were talking about Abzan, or it might have actually been in the green episode, where like green actually glues together black and white very, very well. Because like what white gives you access to is like this sort of more like Staxy hate bear type plan. I mean, you have like cards like Ranger Captain and Grand Abolisher are like more applicable in fast decks, but then being able to play like some of the slower cards. I mean, I think Drannith Magistrate also is good in a lot of them, but if you want to try and support like Rule of Laws or Thalia's or like Thorn and that sort of stuff, potentially like the enters the battlefield hate. There's a lot of sort of game slowing down, stop your opponents from winning, everyone let's chill effects in white that it can sort of throw into a deck to round it out. But when you look at mono black, like it's sort of all speed all the time, like tutor your win cons, cast them, and just like go, and white doesn't really enable that very well, and there just aren't enough. Like adding black to white feels a lot better because of where you're starting from. Like you could just play a white deck and just like throw in some tutors, an opposition agent, a Douthie, and just kind of call it a day. But like if you are talking about a more primarily like when you're looking at the strengths of black, you're really only taking advantage of one of them. I will say it also tends to, like, it does give you slightly more reasonable Razaketh lines, because you get the you can set up the old like Relic Order combos, and you also get I believe it's called Leonin Squire.
I mean, you also just Lurrus.
Oh yeah, I guess Lurrus.
Yeah, you just get Lurrus.
Yeah. Never mind, you get
the last
Lurrus now because they printed that card. Yeah, so you can
Leonin Squire is also correct.
It is also correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Leonin Squire was the really, really bad Eternal Witness substitute that you had to play to do Lion's Eye Diamond shenanigans in Sans Green Razaketh, but of course, yes, they printed Lurrus, and so you can play Lurrus to do the same thing where you reanimate Lurrus, play the LED, crack it, sack Lurrus, find another reanimate, and repeat to net the mana to enable your combo. And you can also theoretically go into Bomberman stuff.
I think
so. It does provide like a little bit more on the win con front.
I think the unfortunate part about that is
also Tymna. Tymna's a hell of a card.
Yeah. The issue with the white Razaketh lines is I think white actually gives the least in terms of Razaketh lines to black, though. Like, I think blue, red, and green all give better Razaketh lines, or enable Razaketh.
Blue gives a better line, but it does less to enable it, because white decks tend to play more creatures than, like, blue-black decks tend to be extremely creature light.
Sure.
Speaking of blue-black, that's our next color pairing. And if listeners of the show can recall back to our color tier list episode, this was the highest ranking two color combination. and for a very good reason. These two colors are basically the peanut butter and jelly of CEDH. They bring out the I don't think it's necessarily inherent to the colors and that they mesh particularly well as much as the power of Thassa's Oracle and the consultation provided by Black.
Even then, like even if you took Thoracle away from this color combo, it's still really good.
It
like
definitely
you
is.
still get
but
you have like your scepter combos become way more accessible. You can still do consult stuff with like Labman and Jace. You like there are like commander centric combos that like actually start working when you add Black into it.
Yeah, but if you take away the Thoracle or Labman effect, it becomes less, super clear that it's far and away heads and shoulders like the best two color combination compared to the rest. It brings it back in line. But yeah, as it stands, the fact that you have access to those and then you fix Blue's problem of consistency with the tutors. You get additional speed from Black, and then Blue provides you with just a whole lot of card quality and interaction.
Well, it's definitely like, yeah, I feel like the biggest gains here for Black are the stack interaction and the win cons. It's just like it patches up the major holes in Black, and they just fit.
Mm-hmm. Next up, we've got
Black.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay.
Well, no, you threw me off with saying black blue because I was definitely prepared to do black blue. And then I thought you were just gonna lead with all the time. Anyway, yeah, black red. And this is kind of our first point in this. It's kind of a point we have for all of the colors. It helps fix some stack interaction, which you get SWAT, Pyro, Reb.
You like actual like a bunch
end.
of the misdirection effects. I mean the forks you also get access to, which are sort of counter magic.
Which, yeah, but I mean they're not really played in black red decks.
Actually, I think like there's actually a small crowd who is playing them and who have played them historically. Like I think it's been in and out of Grenzo for like however long that's been a thing, and also is like they're in the like 110 cards.
During heyday of Grenzo, they were very fringe.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not saying these are super popular, but like you have access to stuff that helps protect you on the stack in red. Like you have to go deep for some of it, but it's certainly there if you need it. Whereas like black, your protection is actually just like Imp's Mischief and Defense Grid.
Arguably Imp's Mischief is better than Fork.
Oh, probably, but it
Not
like
necessarily.
it's the one that you have as compared to.
Is it
Fork can copy tutors and Adnos.
Is it better than
Imp's Mischief
Burnout
can
though?
counter removal.
Yeah.
Or like Overmaster?
Yeah,
Like,
Burnout.
those
So
are
you're talking about forks.
Yeah, no, I know, but like those are also some of the deeper options in red if you're like really trying to do that.
I'm definitely not trying to make the case that the Imp's Mischief is better than any of those cards. Just that it's
That being said,
arguably better than Forks.
speaking of Overmaster,
I mean, it's
because
less good
red
against
also
Demonic Tutor.
because red also provides you with reasonable kind of Adnos payoffs, Overmaster makes a bit of sense to protect your Adnos.
Definitely does. Also,
Which,
think about
yeah.
it, Lyndon. You fork a Demonic Tutor, and then you just get Opposition Agent.
Huge, dude. Huge. Yeah, forking Demonic Tutors and Adnos and stuff is definitely very
hot.
as the kids would say. Yeah, so what else does red provide for black? Because it is more than just Pyroblast.
Oh, it's so much more.
No, got into it a bit there. It provides much better win conditions. So in the form of Breach, World Gorger Dragon, which I think we may have brought up in the reanimation point, but like actual winning reanimation targets, and Dual Caster being kind of a payoff for having a lot of red mana. But then also being able to assemble it easily with like Adnos.
Yeah, World of Warcraft Dragon reanimation is definitely a win con that I've kind of been pretty high on for a while.
I mean, it's
I
definitely
think
like
it's
it's fragile, but it
like
is
in
one of
Grenzo,
the
it wasn't being played.
It's not Witherbloom fragile, but
no, like it's
Reed, you and I
can
discussed
definitely
this, right?
justify
We're both very pro.
yeah, it's like it's
World
certainly
of Warcraft
it's a
Dragon.
fragile thing, but like it is like actually unbelievably fast. Like World of Warcraft Dragon combos are some of the fastest things you can actually be doing in the format, which is like sort of unreal. Like Entomb Reanimate is black win the game. 2 cards.
Yeah,
like that's
it kind of
that's a
has that,
better
Well,
rate.
in
than-
Tomb Animate, it's
oh sure,
it
but
kind of
like
feels like that, like a Razaketh win, but you don't need any of the like creature.
yeah, I need the setup.
Requirements, any of the setup, but it's obviously way less.
and also you know
resilient.
what? You can draw the game sometimes, and sometimes drawing the game is better than a loss.
Yeah,
Yeah,
rip.
cool.
And then yeah.
And finally, Reed,
Yeah, I mean it
our
it
next
also
final color pair.
oh well, I was gonna go through the last point on black red first here, which is also that like along with having like additional win cons, sort of like helping shore up the stack interaction issue. Red also just adds heavily to black's ritual suite. Red has taken up the mantle of the ritual color in Magic over the past 10 years, 15 years, 10 years, something like that. And has gotten a fair amount of good acceleration. You got Spirit Guide, you got Dockside, you got Jeska's Will, you got just some good stuff to help you get off the ground. So, you know, it definitely shoves that color combination toward fast stuff because good win cons, defensive stack interaction, good rituals. It's just, you know, the makings of proactive things.
And then you're up for the final
Yeah.
color pairing.
So, last one we got here is black green. We talked about this a bit on the green episode. I guess we also talked about black red on the black red episode, but yeah, it's a weird one. I'm not actually sure that it's changed that much since we talked about the green episode. I think the only aspect of this that has actually really changed has been the printing of Op Agent, which last time we talked about this color combination in the green episode, go check it out. Our complaint was that the green creature tutors didn't really have any. Black didn't add any creatures for green to go tutor for.
I mean, we also got Douthie.
We also did get Douthie.
It also has Douthie, which I think is like not just a joke.
No.
Genuinely good to tutor for.
It is actually, yeah, especially in this color combination, Douthie actually might be one of the better grind plans. Yeah, so like you certainly get better creatures now to tutor for. But yeah, I mean green, yeah. So it also sort of solves the stack problem, or at least it gives you some more protective elements. Obviously the Veils are the classics. You also get like Destiny Spinner, which is sort of good. Unfortunately, black green doesn't really use Spinner all that well, aside from specifically Gitrog, I think. I don't know.
Gitrog doesn't use Spinner.
Yeah, it also does.
Uses
Yeah,
Shepherd.
doesn't use Spinner particularly well, so he uses Shepherd. Shepherd's also here, which like it sort of
Shepherd
adds.
is insane in Gitrog.
It is
but
insane in
it's
Gitrog,
really
but it's
more
just
of
weird.
because of green.
Yeah,
Shepherd does things for green.
Yeah.
And you know, as much as like if black provides stuff for green and makes it better, then you know it just makes Shepherd more playable in that sense.
Yeah.
But you know, Shepherd and black cards don't really interact at all.
Also, part of solving the interaction issue is like giving black real removal and black giving green real removal. They just come together real well and make some good removal babies.
Yeah, best color combination for removing things in play.
Yep.
For sure.
It's really
Assassin's Trophy, Abrupt Decay, awesome catch-all remove pieces.
Jeez, yeah.
like actually insane removal pieces. And then like even once you get like further down the line in some pieces of removal, it's expensive for CDH, but they're all just like good cards. Maelstrom Pulse, what's it called? The other 3-mana one, Putrefy.
Grist is
Yeah,
nice for
Grist.
providing a way to
Grist is
remove
nice,
creatures by turning all of your creature tutors into creature removal spells.
Good
or
old
planeswalker removal
Pernicious
spells.
Deed. The
Which
classic.
kind of has a problem in the fact that you kind of want to be killing the opposition agent.
Yeah.
In Garrog, you definitely want to be killing the Drannith Magistrate as well.
Draenish, yeah.
Yeah, and then I mean black green also it's sort of weird. It probably gives the second worst win cons to black out of all of them. Like white doesn't really give black any win cons, I don't think. Green at least gives it the recently printed Witherbloom Prentice and Chain of Smog, which is not good,
gives
but
it
it's
Hulk.
playable. It also gives it Hulk. Hulk's a weird one just because it's like sort of commander centric. I also like it's hard for me to place Hulk in these kinds of lists because I actually don't think Hulk is that good of a win con to get in these colors without the
You
context
need to pair
of
with a
command set.
commander.
Yeah,
There's multiple
it
commanders
needs the
you can
context
pair
of
it with,
commander.
Yeah.
But like the color itself doesn't really do much with Hulk. Like Hulk's a very mediocre combo in just black green without a commander. I would definitely if I had to play a commanderless black green deck in this format, my win con of choice would probably be Witherbloom Apprentice and Chain of Smog, or doing like Razaketh stuff, which it also does give. I mean, you get Life, Death, and Eternal Witness,
I think it
which
would be
gives you
Razaketh stuff.
like very reasonable Razaketh setups. Obviously, the actual closing the game out part of it gets a bit tricky, but you have all the good setup stuff, and you can usually piece together a win off of cats in these colors, even if it is a bit more protracted than just going for Thoracle and sack Thoracle for console, which is still just so dumb. Anyway.
I also think that Wither Chain is a lot more reasonable when you enable it off of Razaketh, and you can try and do something like a Veil first.
Yeah. You just go on maximum, discard your own hand redundancy.
And also, I mean, the fact that those colors give you Ewit so that you can, like, even if they manage to stop it through a Veil, you just go, okay, like, reanimate my Ewit, get back Chain of Smog, recast Chain of Smog, do it again. But yeah. I mean, aside from that, green doesn't really help mono black that much. Like, it gives you the additional filler and mana acceleration, which is pretty nice. I think, like, basically the biggest thing that I think green actually gives black is sort of a bit more consistency in mulligans. You get, like, additional tutors, but also the dorks help you smooth out your... Well, it helps smooth out your draws a bunch, just because, you know, you don't have to...
Yeah, green is definitely the one. Green is the heavy lifter in that color pair.
Yeah.
So it's more that black is playing the support role, and then green is kind of the main color. For sure. Well then, that wraps it up for our main topic, which means it's time for everyone's favorite segment, Gut Check!
Gut check.
Gut check.
I think, honestly, as a general rule, whoever has the gut check idea needs to say it like Lyndon says it.
The last.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
So this week's Gut Check is brought to us by Morgan. Morgan, what do you have on deck for us?
So I have a question that is a little similar to some ones we've done before, but I think it's, involves considering a slightly different axis. So the question is, what set had the best impact on the CEDH metagame?
Best.
Not most, not powered it up the most, but best. Using whatever subjective
best
criteria you
impact.
like.
I guess we should probably limit this to our time span in CDH, because there's probably some
I think
weird ones
we have to
going
limit
back.
it at least to when
Inception of
CEDH
CDH
quasi
yeah.
existed. So
How about this? I'll
can't
tell
say
you
like alpha.
a set that definitely didn't have the best, and that's Theros Beyond Death.
What are you talking about? Underworld Breach is such a fun card to play with, isn't it?
Yeah, that was definitely not the first one. I was thinking of. Yeah, I don't know. I thought Commander Legends was a nice set, as much as people don't like Opposition
I-
Agent and Hall Preacher.
I mean, yeah.
I'm not setting that one in. I'm just
I kind of want to
speaking
though.
my mind.
That's the one that's sticking out to me the most. I was trying to think about Battle Bond. If I was like, we got Nagila, we got some fun stuff in Battle Bond, but like I'm thinking back to all these different sets, and every now and then you get one or two cards from a set that would heavily impact the CDH meta, and then if a card is heavily impacting, it's usually not a good thing. I think the set, that added the most to the game without completely destroying it. I think it's probably Commander Legends, and it's a lot. I can look much more positively back on that set now that Hull Breacher is banned. So I think that's my answer.
I mean, yeah, if you count Kaladesh block, you got
I-
both Dramatic Reversal and
God,
Paradox
I was
Engine.
actually about to ask if we could do a block so I could say Kaladesh block
Nope.
because
Nope. Set.
No.
that
That's-
block
okay,
you get,
so you say
you get
Kaladesh.
Paradox
I'll-
Engine, you get
you say
Age of Flex
Kaladesh.
Reservoir, you get Dramatic Reversal. You just get like a bunch of like really great stuff for the format in that block. I guess
Hmm.
I guess if I have to pick one, then it would just like be like Kaladesh then, and just leave Paradox Engine out in the cold.
I mean, I
Yeah,
guess it
that's
makes
fair.
sense because that's very much where Paradox Engine is right now.
Can we,
Don't
hey,
fucking
Manta
remind
Ray
me,
Hat, can we
man.
get an edit of just Paradox Engine glancing in through like the window from the snow from like from like A Christmas Story, like the
play the classic.
it's the family of broken cards like Adnaz and like whatever sitting at the table inside eating
Yeah.
Christmas dinner with Paradox Engine out in the cold.
Just a Grinch edit.
Yeah, I'll lock in
Uh,
Kaladesh.
True. And then you also get Paradox Cloud comes.
Yeah, that's
Not that it's made a big impact. But
it's a fun card.
was,
There's a
like,
bunch of
impactful.
really fun stuff in Kaladesh, especially if you like wrap to Kaladesh block in total.
I guess because we've exhausted all options, I'll go back to Commander Legends and kind of have the same conclusion that Linden had. But I mean, I got to the point where Hull Breacher was kind of growing on me, but that's because I was spending all my time in brewing non-black
Yeah.
decks, and it definitely kind of does a little bit of what Paradox Engine used to do and fix decks.
Especially green blue non-black stuff.
Green
Yeah.
blue decks. Yeah.
If you had to choose something that wasn't Commander Legends, what would you choose? Just off the top of your head.
No, that's hard. Hmm.
I may be doing this.
Shadows over Innistrad that had Gitrog Monster. Dude.
Oh, okay.
Lyndon, if you want to change yours, I
Shit,
may or may
wait.
not be doing this for the express purpose of having a
I
real
have to
poll.
change one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can change it. Ice Age.
Is that
Dude, Remora and console? Oh my god.
dude, you know what? Yeah.
We did
Easy.
it.
Wait, and
Um,
and Necro, right? Am I
And Necro.
tripping?
Yeah. That's right. Oh no, or is it Doomsday? No, it's Doomsday.
It might be. It's definitely Necro. It might also be Doomsday.
Does Doomsday have a previous printing? Because I think it is printed in Ice Age.
No, Doomsday was in Weatherlight.
Okay.
you could make the argument that Onslaught or Zendikar for the or sorry like the fetches. So I guess it would be cons and
I don't think.
Onslaught, right?
I don't think Reed would make that argument.
I would definitely not make that argument. I think fetches are
No, so I was
a
gonna say
net
I
negative
thought
for the
that,
format.
we've talked about this before. I'm pretty sure. on the
Yeah,
podcast,
we have. I'm
where-
staunchly anti-fetch.
So I was gonna say that I think a big part of the identity of our format is reliant on having perfect mana.
Oh, sorry. I'm
And-
not saying that like we should just ban fetches outright. Nothing else needs like changing, and that like in order like I don't think that the format would be CDH with fetches banned. I think it would be a better format with fetches banned, but it's certainly not CDH. What I do think should have happened is I don't think they should have been printed in the first place. I think we'd be in a much better spot right now if they had just never existed.
Yeah,
Also, yeah,
Magic
the,
is completely different. with-
agreeable.
with
I mean,
fetches.
yeah,
Like, that's-
the
that's
criteria
so
was
crazy.
definitely best to leave in the option of, counting against sets cards that you think had a negative effect
Right.
on CDH.
I just don't even know if it's like a net. Like it's. I think that fetches cause problems, but I it's hard to even contemplate what the alternate universe looks like, and they're just so fundamental to everything we're doing in CDH and EDH. Like the whole aspect of a lot of what Op Agent does is screw over people's mana, and because of fetches and fetch lands, I had to shuffle your library. I have perfect mana bases. It's I don't know.
I don't think it would actually be as different as you might first believe, but that's just my belief.
Yeah, but then I wouldn't have the Gitrog monster because the deck would suck.
And we
The
finally
truth
got
comes out.
to the core of the issue. All right, Morgan, what you got?
I think my answer is War of the Spark.
Oh,
There were a lot of I think that set had a lot of cards that either saw play, like some of them have fallen out of favor now, like obviously Jace Wheeler of Mystery comes to mind.
Veto was that set too, right?
Dovin's Veto, Narset's Reversal,
Finale
of Devastation,
Narset, Harder Veils,
Niv Mizzet, rest in peace, Neoform,
Bolsa Citadel.
Citadel, yeah, like that one was a bit more of a slow burn, didn't see as much play initially, but it's picking up. Dude, CDH staple God Eternal Kefnet,
Ashok Dream
deck.
Render,
Mm.
CDH
Yeah,
staple
no, there's-
Vivian Champion of the Wilds.
yeah, that's a bit more.
We went too far. We went too far.
But yeah, there was a lot of like really cool cards that have seen reasonable but like fair amounts of play. Also, Blast and Emergence Zones were definitely like an interesting design space. And I will say the other one that I was like kind of considering that I'm somewhat surprised no one else said was Modern Horizons 1.
Yeah.
Like I think that the forces were actually like reasonably healthy. Obviously the first sliver was pretty
First
big.
sliver.
Ranger Captain.
Urza.
Ranger Captain Urza, yeah. Urza had the best impact on the CDH meta because it meant that people stopped playing Teferi and feeding him those cards. It was fantastic.
Yeah, but it meant that I have to face against Keegan's fucking Trinispheres and Winter Warps.
You would
that's-
still be doing that.
Yeah.
I think even if Urza wasn't printed.
Also, it had the Horizon lands and the enemy talismans.
That is true.
When are they
Yeah.
going to complete the Horizon?
Yeah, enemy talismans. That
Yeah,
felt
yeah,
good
that was pretty- that's
in
pretty
the
cool.
moment.
Oh, show. Cool. Well, we do have a lister question. Or
Yeah,
are
this
we
one's
gonna
it's a bit of an old one, but
We'll get through it.
Yeah, I think we never answered it, and it's definitely something of an interesting one.
Cool. So this listener question comes to us from Lucas. So Lucas asks, this might be a bit of a more longer discussion, but how do you evaluate cards and how important is one mana? Example, being why is Dark Confidence so good and the 3-drop enchantment bad?
Dark Tutelage.
Phyrexian Arena or what's the other one? Sorry,
Dark Tutelage is the
Dark Tutelage. Yeah.
is the one that has the same effect as Bob.
Yeah, I mean, you'd run Arena before Tutelage, though. So.
Unless you were maybe in like a super high color deck where you didn't want double black. But yeah.
Yeah, so, and the 3-drop enchantment bad, and I doubt it'd be much better if that enchantment was a creature instead. Yeah, so definitely it's the mana that matters and not
You
the,
talking
Yeah.
about? Are you saying Ruin Raider is not a CEDH staple?
Dude,
That's-
doesn't Rune Raider?
Wait, no, I'm thinking of the wrong one.
Isn't it the one that has raid? Doesn't it make it so that you could actually get a card the turn it comes down?
Yes.
Yeah, it's relevant.
But it's 3 mana.
It
Oh, it is.
three mana.
It is Rune Raider.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So, what's everyone's thoughts?
So I mean, the baseline is that 1 mana matters a lot, particularly for things that aren't them like things that you don't sort of like build up to or really want to commit a lot of resources to, like obviously, Ad Nauseam would be worse at 6 mana than it is at 5, but the fact that it's like that's the thing that you're doing, the target that you're aiming for is like casting the Nas, and then after that you just kind of win, means that those requirements, you're just gonna play in a way that you're expecting to meet them. But I think, yeah, like for low cost things, so this is also true of like interaction spells. There's a big push to like keep your interaction preferably to 1 mana, sometimes to 2 for a little bit more flexibility. But it's also really important to figure out how things fit into a curve. So for example, yeah, like historically, 3 mana things have been a lot better in green decks with dorks.
Yeah, imagine 4 mana Fabro.
Yeah, like
God, so
the
much
fact that you
worse.
can go like land dork, land the thing is very, very strong.
And like 2 mana Fabro is like
Oh,
obviously
God.
better, but not necessarily like as worse as adding
Yeah.
mana is to it. Then
Like 2 mana Fabro
Yeah,
is
like-
like good, but like not so much better
you're
than
still
3
playing it
mana.
on
Yeah.
turn 2 because you're still
Yeah. I mean, it's obviously way better when you don't have the dork.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's also why, for example, like taking the colorless mana off of something like Kess probably wouldn't do a lot for her. Like, assuming you're trying to play a 2 mana rock, she's coming down turn 4 anyway. Obviously, being able to hold mana potentially is nice. So I think for cards like that, generally, 1 mana is a pretty big deal, especially when you're hoping to play them on early turns, like as part of a curve, and not sort of when you're a little bit more established and have, the freedom to either like play more expensive spells or play multiple cheaper spells in a turn. So like a card like that is one of the ones where its mana cost is maximally important. Maybe the only ones that are more important is instant speed interaction, because like obviously then you have to commit with instant speed interaction. The quote unquote best case scenario is that you don't have to use it, and so the more it costs, the more you're committing with the hope of not using it.
well, very well said.
Does anyone else have any perspectives to add?
I think 1 mana being important in terms of card evaluation, it kind of boils down to a kind of rule of thumb in Magic, which is the player who plays the most cards generally ends up winning the game, and this has to do with a combination of mana efficiency and being able to utilize all your mana every turn, and that requires having low CMC cards that and this is like this is a very big complicated issue, and this ties into other card games like Hearthstone, where there's differences between curving out, in terms of playing a 1-drop, 2-drop, 3-drop, 4-drop, versus playing, having a bunch of low drop cards so that you can fill your curve by playing multiple cards in a turn, and how those, and then there's obviously the dynamics between having 1 Tarmogoyf can kind of neutralize 2 1-drops potentially. Like there's a bunch of different dynamics, but as a rule of thumb, if you're leaving up, if you're not utilizing all of your mana, you're doing something wrong, and having low low cost efficient cards can help fill in those gaps. So whether that's being able to if you on turn 3, let's say you go turn 1 land Dork, turn 2 you've got 2 mana to develop something like a Sylvan Library for doing something proactive, and then also holding up something to be reactive, or also fitting in another Dork to just accelerate even further and give you just a nuts turn 3. These are all relevant aspects of cards, and just having the appropriate amount of mana as low as possible. That turn on turn 2, or if you're playing a 3 mana Sylvan Library, your turn is your next turn is short 1 mana, which or you're maybe losing the game because you're not holding up mana. It can be extremely important. And yeah, as card to card evaluation, the Dark Confidant to Phyrexian Arena, similar card. The one that's cheaper is definitely always gonna be the better card for sure.
I mean, I think it's there is other stuff at play in that specific analysis, like the fact that it is a creature, like it was played. I mean, card quality has just been going up and up as they print more cards. That's not surprising. Dark Confidant, I think, has lost a lot of stocks. Part of that is just how fast the meta is, like shifts in play patterns. But I think also part of that is that it was often, not the best card in, like, when it was in a deck like Kess, like no one really thought, oh yeah, this is just a great card. Like if I had access to 3 of these, I'd be playing 3 of these. And so like it obviously held out in Tymna decks a little bit longer because it's a decent Tymna attacker, which means you can sometimes be getting 2 cards out of it. But yeah, I think also I think that the the whole whoever spends more, spends their mana more effectively wins thing is a little bit less true in CEDH than it is in like standard 1v160 card formats, in part because you have opponents who, like, spending resources opponent versus opponent is not, like, doesn't actually get you ahead, it gets you behind. And also in part because the mana production is like so much more highly variable between players over the course of a typical CDH game than it is like a modern game. Like in a modern game, maybe one person is playing, like there are a couple modern decks like Scapeshift or whatever that actually do make a lot more mana, but burn versus control, people are just trying to hit their land drops and tap out every turn, whereas like having cards like Mana Crypt or cards like Dockside, giant mana engines like Fabro Elder can like really start to skew the like how important spending your mana efficiently is if you're just generating so much more of it.
No, but I mean, if you're generating that mana, you're often, if you're not using it, then you're not winning the game usually. Like, you're not playing a Fabro Elder as an attacker. You're playing it to generate mana so that you can spend it on things that advance your game plan and put you ahead, give you more resources. I think when you're comparing, like, if you're just going, I think counter spells, and like lightning bolts and removal, those are the things where you don't want to be looking to 60 card, because in 60 card, going 1 for 1, if you're playing, more lightning bolts and threats than your opponent is playing counter spells or whatever, then that's great for you. But you don't want to be the one kind of reacting and removing 1 for 1. I think the mana efficiency, whoever's playing the most cards and using their mana the most effectively in terms of developing their proactive game plan, is more an appropriate.
Yeah, that's probably a better way of looking at it. Because like counter spell, spending a 2 mana counter spell on a 5 mana spell is a lot better in modern than it is in CDH. Is like,
it's generally more, but it's mana is important, so in so much as it lets you play more cards, and cards in CDH tend to beget more cards, and I think CDH is much more about raw cards than it is about mana. You see that in the form of ad nauses and big swingy card advantage engines like Rhystic Studies and Remoras, where it's the cards that win you the game, but you need to be able to utilize those cards effectively by having them be mana efficient or having massive mana engines. But it's the card, the fact that you're willing to like if you want to just look at how important mana is, you look at something like a Swan Song versus a Force of Will, or maybe a Force of Negation is a better example, because they're more comparable. You're willing to spend a card, which is extremely valuable, to get a mana cost reduction of 1. Like that, that's how important it is to be able to.
That being said, the
use
difference between 0 mana and 1 mana is also like the largest difference in functional mana in the game, right?
Oh, certainly. But it is still
it is still a difference in 1. Actually, sub listener question here: how much mana would you exchange for a card if like a force costs 1 mana to cast instead?
What?
Like, what would
I get like
Yeah,
how much would
usually.
the effect usually have to cost for you to pay 1 mana and a card?
I mean, it's
sorry, like you're saying,
like the normal value of a
Like the
you're saying,
I don't
you're
know,
asking
CDH
how much would
the
the
normal-
non-pitch cost have to be for me
Yes.
to want to play the card?
Yes.
So are we trying to say that 5 mana is a cost for a counterspell?
That's crazy.
No.
So like,
No, sorry,
would
never
you
mind,
play? Would you play a 3 mana? Would you play like a cancel,
agent.
except you can pitch cast it for a single mana?
or like exclude, I guess, like one of the higher tier counter magic effects, or like interactive effects. But you're
Okay,
but
yeah, so it's not
but
necessarily
the
mana, it's more
force
about
but the
the
force
effect.
isn't
That's,
like
I guess, a way of-
and so I'm basically asking like how big is the difference from 0 to 1 compared to 1 to another like mana value, right? Because like definitely that 0 to 1 step is huge compared to the step from 1 to 2. Like is the step from 0 to 1 larger
the
from the
difference
step
between-
from 1 to like 3 per se? Like is that a larger difference?
It's kind of a large. I think it's a bit more than 1 mana of a difference, because you're kind of not using your mana on
Right.
your turn, so that's an effect that you're
I
gonna
mean,
have to tack on later. Plus, it's also limiting your options again by having to spend more mana. So I'd say you pretty much need the effect of like 3 cards.
I think that specifically for interaction and like counter spells, it skews it a little bit, because like I think that bluffing mana for interaction is like counter spells are definitely the poster child of cards you hold up with the hope of not using
Right.
them. But also ones that you try and indicate that you have. So it's like a little bit weird to do that evaluation compared to even something like a Nature's Claim, or like a Vampiric Tutor or whatever. I think that it changes the role of the card more than it does the going from 0 to 1 mana changes the role of Force of Will more than it changes the role of, say, like Vampire.
Yeah.
Or
Makes sense.
or whatever.
Cool. Well,
Yeah.
that wraps it up for this episode. If you guys would like to reach out to us with any questions, comments, or concerns, you can contact us on Twitter at Into the North Pod, via our email, intothenorthpodcast@gmail.com, or on our Discord server, the invite link for which can be found in the description for this episode. An extra special thanks to all of our patrons who help cover the expenses for our show and allow us to work towards improving the quality of the podcast. If you too would like to become a patron, we are at patreon.com/IntoNorthPodcast. Another way you can support us is via our TCG Player affiliate link. So anytime you want to purchase something from TCG Player, if you use our affiliate link, which is in the podcast/YouTube description, a portion of your purchase goes towards supporting the podcast. Thank you as always to the band Vox Cadre for our lovely podcast music, to Nate Slover for our equally lovely podcast logo, and to our video editor, Manta Ray Hat. The next episode will be out in 2 weeks. Until then, see ya.
Bye.
Peace.
Have a good one.